This is where the fun begins.
Dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Sithcast podcast, a Star Wars podcast where we pretty much talk anything and everything Star Wars. I'm one of your hosts, PJ, the Paradox Nerd, alongside my co-host. Well, one for now. The other one's hopping on around 9 o'clock. We got Anthony, a.k.a. BMX Jedi, a.k.a. Sithcast Holocron. What's up, Anthony?
Much.
And we got a special guest on tonight. She's been here before. We got Cece from Rogue 16, aka buyer of Prince and enabler, should I say.
Yes.
Cece, thank you for hopping on tonight's show. Just really quick, we want to definitely plug in your channel. Where can anyone and everyone find you?
It's Rogue 16. That's also the name of our Facebook group. The Facebook group is all one word. The YouTube channel is Rogue One and then the number 6. We'd love to have you. We lately have been doing live streams on Saturday afternoons in the US just because we tend to have our friends in the UK hop on. So I know it's not ideal for everyone, but yeah, absolutely. I also like to space it out so that we're not having competing events. Like Spice Runners is like Fridays.
Yeah.
You guys, Thursdays.
Yeah, we went to Thursdays, so
we're holding down the fort for Saturdays in the middle of the day. It's awesome.
Yeah. But one thing about these live streams is that there's a lot of, you could replay it, rewatch it, at your own leisure. So guys, I love watching Rogue 16. They do amazing work over there. They talk about everything Star Wars, prints, collectibles, you name it. But definitely with Matt and Jason being on the show, it's a lot of fun. So please check out Rogue 16 I would say every other Saturday. CC.
I think we're trying it every 2 weeks at least.
Okay, so yeah, please check out Rogue 16 on YouTube. But yeah, if you guys also want to get educated with Star Wars art prints, you're looking to maybe start decorating your collection room with a lot more prints, please check out the Facebook group. CC always, I say enable, but updates everybody when the new Star Wars prints release. So please join the Facebook group. And another special guest on tonight, we got Mr. Star Wars Addict 77, aka SWA 77, from Spice Runners Lounge. Jeff, what's up, Jeff?
Yeah, I know. CC's enabling me, so I'm like,
well, that's what. Yeah, we wanted you on the show, but we also wanted to enable you as well. So
yeah, exactly.
A little bit of both.
We have ulterior motives.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for the invite.
Yes. Also, Jeff, where can anyone and everyone find you?
Well, I got my YouTube channel back, so that's good.
I didn't know you lost it.
Yeah, YouTube. When I was selling those Stormtrooper soundboards or whatever, I posted on a couple people's YouTube channels where I'm like, "Hey, I'm selling this," and YouTube didn't like that very much.
Oh my gosh!
YouTube is so they blocked me. Yeah.
Okay. So you're back in business.
I'm back as Star Wars Addict 77, not SWA anymore. So yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Also, people can also find Jeff every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, on Spice Runners Lounge. So, thank you guys for hopping on the show. Thank you to everyone watching us and listening to us tonight. We got a lot of things to talk about, especially we weren't on last week, so we didn't get to talk about last week's skeleton the Skeleton Cruise episode 7. So we're going to talk about that tonight and the season finale or the series finale. It's a season finale, right?
Season, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
They haven't said
Yeah.
I don't even think they know.
Yeah.
fair.
All right. We'll start off with CC, right? So, what's your overall thoughts of the whole show and the last 2 episodes of the season?
Yeah, I'll be totally honest with you. I binge watched the entire 7 episodes last Saturday before we did our live stream, knowing that we're going to. So I rushed through my homework really quickly.
Yeah.
Remember exactly like all the tidbits of the episodes, but I will say, and I've watched a few, like there's a few channels. I don't I'm gonna upset some people. I don't listen to like Star Wars Theory, but there's people I watch like Screen Crush or Heavy Spoilers. I like their and Heavy
Screen
Spoilers.
Crush.
Screen Crush, yeah. I like. I love his videos and the stuff that they put out. So I'm in the camp of I was pleasantly surprised from start to finish with this show. I also am going to anger some people. I don't think I've ever seen the Goonies like from start to finish.
Okay.
But I like obviously I understand the concept.
I'm not.
I'm not completely under a rock. Like I've seen Stranger Things. It's practically the same thing as far as concept goes. So I think that I really liked it. I thought it was fun. I think it's super refreshing after Acolyte.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that a lot of people are in that camp of like, well, it didn't change anything in the story as far as like the overall arc that we know about like the Skywalker saga. And I'm like, Jesus, people, like you wanted them not to mess with legacy
Skywalker.
Like Boba Fett, leave Boba Fett alone, please. You don't know how to do that right. And then they do something like this, which is totally different. It's very siloed and encapsulated. It gives us tidbits of what was going on in the universe, but it doesn't change our understanding of like the whole story, which I think is what Disney should be doing when they're doing stuff like prequels, sequels, like when they're just adding things in the middle of stories we already know. So I thought this was really good. I think the effects, the set design, the kids were not annoying, and I don't like kids. I thought it was watchable. I think I straight up, I don't like kids. I don't invite them over. They're gonna touch my stuff. It's not cool. Like so. No, I thought it was great. I loved it.
Okay. What would you rate it from? 1 to 10.
1 to 10. Probably like honestly like an 8. I think we really needed something that wasn't like super heavy, but it was still entertaining for adults, and I'm sure kids liked it too. I just haven't talked to any for obvious reasons, but no, I thought it was great.
Okay, awesome. Great assessment, great review. And I do agree with quite a few of your assessment of the show. Especially the set design and the cinematography. I'm watching it and I'm like, damn, this should have been a movie. And I still believe it should have been a movie, right? Because I feel like the 8 episodes was a little drawn out. I think they could have did like a 2-hour movie, and I think it would been a lot more enjoyable. But as you said, definitely refreshing after the Acolyte. How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of the same points that I have before is like hold, I think, still through the whole series. I would definitely give it an 8. So I'm in an 8 category. I think I agree with you. I kind of applaud CC for waiting, right? It's hard to wait to like binge watch, but I think it probably is a better series, like you're talking about, as a complete, right? As almost like a Star Wars special almost would be, right? Like, hey, it's going to come out. It's going to come out this weekend. You guys are going to be able to see it. You can watch its entirety. I think it would have done a lot better that way. I think people would have appreciated it more. I love the kids acting. I mean, it was great. I try not to get skewed from how bad Acolyte was, like to give it a good rating because it was actually better than Acolyte. Like I try not to skew it so much. I'm also one of those diehard, old school, like love my original Star Wars stuff. But if we're gonna have Star Wars content to talk about and keep the community together, like this is kind of the stuff that needs to continue to come out from Disney. Hopefully they get better and better as stuff comes out and they learn. But yeah, I'm an 8. I don't think it needed to tie that much together. I don't think I needed to see like Luke Skywalker in it or anything else. I wish they would have given us some kind of a tie-in, like at the end, like a bounty hunter, or you know, I thought some of the ending, like the last episode, I felt like they tried to get. It's almost like they lost the direction, and they were like, "Oh wait, we got to get some original trilogy stuff in there. So let's throw in some like B-wings and some X-wings and Tanif." You know, I don't know. That felt a little cheesy for me at the last episode.
It felt like it was forced. Like, oh, we need to do something.
Fan service.
Yeah, like a little fan service. Fan service is good. But if it's being forced down your throat, you're like, you know, like we're not dumb. Like we'll notice. So I mean, but yeah, that's a great review, Jeff.
It's better than Yoda's head. I mean,
yeah, dude. Even him mentioning that like, his mentor was a Jedi, and like I think that was enough to be like, oh, okay, like yep, like it was literally like a line, but it was enough to like give you chills because like we like just like the overarching idea that one event had such an effect on so many people across the galaxy that it's almost something you wouldn't think that it would touch something like this planet that by design is so removed from the rest of the galaxy that they don't even understand that there was a war. And yet he's like, oh no, like he was deeply affected. I thought that was a really good way of tying in something from the overarching story without it being Yoda's head, or like throwing in some Jedi at the last minute that made no sense whatsoever.
Or you know, Plagueis creeping around in the cave.
I'll lead in before you give it to Anthony because this will be the negative part of it too. But yeah, I think it's a good tie-in for Anthony's. But like the only other piece too that I was kind of like, you wanted more out of it. But when he's in there and he's talking, you know, he's like, okay, you know, like what's the guy's name? The robot that was like with the giant eye, right?
I've been calling him Smee because it's S3.
Yeah, 33, right?
The supervisor, that's it.
Oh, the supervisor.
Yeah, but it's like you wanted so much more from the supervisor piece that they've been pitching all season, and then the guy just sticks it with his saber in the eye, and everything shuts down. I'm like,
I mean, the whole time with the supervisor, I felt like it was kind of like a Karen. I need to speak to your supervisor.
Yeah.
Like.
You know what I thought it was? I thought it was going to be like Wizard of Oz.
No, that's what I thought. Like the whole time.
I thought there was going to be like somebody behind the machine. That was what I was thinking at the time.
Yeah, I was actually leading to that too. I was like, oh, it might be. This looks like Wizard of Oz, right? So, all right, especially like with Wicked and all that, you know, the hype behind that. I thought it would have been a good tie-in, but yeah. That wasn't the case. All right, so let's go to Anthony. Anthony, what is your overall assessment of the show?
The kids are fine. They just don't even understand the world they're dealing with. That's my overarching problem. In every single episode, like there's just always something that pops up, and it's like this just pulls you out of it. You know. And it's just so much of it that happens over and over and over again. And it's just like one more thing that kind of pulls you out of this universe. And I think what Cece said is dead on. This planet is so cosmetically removed from the Star Wars universe that it almost doesn't even feel like Star Wars. Like they had not put Jedi symbols, mentioned the New Republic credits, and a lightsaber, you could definitely think that this is a different type of a science fiction movie,
Yeah.
And they just don't understand it. They just don't understand the world they're working in. I don't think Sean and I were talking about this over the weekend. I don't think they realize how important some of these itty little things are, that like had always made us feel like you're stepping out of reality and into like a whole nother world that is so foreign, everything. It's like a lot of little things.
Yeah.
I would say the least, like, I agree with you. Sometimes like kid actors can be like annoying. The kids weren't the problem. It's kind of their ability to bring you into this world. Like I don't know a damn thing about Harry Potter. I've seen like a bit of one movie. If I got asked to work on it in some form or fashion, I would be wanting to like learn every single itty bitty thing about Harry Potter and what makes it so awesome to these people that love it.
Yeah.
I would want to have like an absolute Harry Potter nerd sitting right next to me saying, no, you can't do that. That doesn't make sense. Do this. Instead of saying this, you would say this. Like, those are the things that I just don't understand why they can't do it. Like,
yeah.
They either don't think it's important, and they think that, like, what difference does it make? Or, like, they don't even know that it matters.
Yeah.
But,
well, to clarify, when I said, like, it's siloed, I mean, like, the story. Like, you don't have to have Luke, like, make an appearance. I also don't need to see a lightsaber to know that something's Star Wars.
Yeah.
And or prove that. That we don't have to have a Jedi. We don't have to have, like, we didn't see a stormtrooper in this. It still felt like Star Wars. We had a lightsaber, but I don't think it's not like they have to check boxes. Okay, you saw a lightsaber, you mentioned the Jedi, you mentioned the Republic, Empire. I think that, and it might be that I just watched the video that Screen Crush did, where he mentioned that this felt very much like George Lucas's whole point with Star Wars, which was the rebellion part of it, and also, hey, it's meant for 12-year-olds, and the whole like fighting the system. So it was kind of like, hey, we're ruled by algorithms, and we do a lot of things because we've always done them that way. And this was like pulling the curtain back on like Wizard of Oz and finding out it's a droid. This whole like dystopian kind of utopia where they were like rose-colored glasses. The whole world was run by a droid, and they had no idea what was going on the outside of that world because they let their whole lives be run by droids because it was the safe option. So these adults had to learn from their kids how to be brave, how to do things differently, how to like stand up for yourself. So I think that that was a cool story. And also it's very similar to Star Wars. Like, you've got Luke, who just feels like he's in this boring ass planet, and it takes the Empire killing his family for him to be like, okay, yeah, I guess I'll go take this light stick thing and like go on an adventure. So I think it still spoke to the spirit of Star Wars, whether or not you felt like it was connected to the whole overarching rebellion, Empire, Skywalker clan, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think that everything needs to be tightly parallel to like the Star Wars movies, because you can have things that are happening in another planet where they really weren't massively affected by the Empire or stuff like that. That's totally fine. I actually think that the Jude Law being like a fallen Jedi, it seems forced. I don't even think it was necessary. But I think that's kind of one of them things where they think they have to do this. Otherwise,
there's no
it won't
connection.
feel like Star Wars. Right. I mean, I guess it makes total sense that the TIE fighter, I mean, not the TIE fighters, the X-Wings and the Wings show up because they basically called out to the New Republic to come help them. That makes sense. I'm fine with that. But I've been saying since kind of done Disney stuff, is it seems like the people that are writing it and running the shows don't necessarily understand the world that they're in. That's kind of my take on it. Like, I think the story is really cool. I do like the whole like you brought up about the utopian society, like, I don't know if you ever saw, there was a series called The Brave New World. Kind of has that feel, like, and all of this, like, all of those things are really good, but it's a lot of little things that, when you see it, it's jarring to you.
Mhm.
I think so it's interesting because I'm trying to like see both sides, right? Because of our communities and stuff too. There was a guy on Instagram that was so adamant about like that it was like a phenomenal series, and like he thought it was like so Star Wars. And I wasn't trying to antagonize. I was just curious, like, what his thought was on like why he thought it was Star Wars. And it actually kind of falls a little, I won't tell you his handle, but like it actually falls a little to like what CC was saying. And he wrote, he's like, protagonists who live in an ordinary life thrust into an adventure they weren't prepared for. They learn about the galaxy, the planets, the chases. It's all Star Wars. That was his response.
Mhm.
So I think if you, I don't know, some of that,
I
I
would
agree with
agree
you,
with that.
Anthony. So yeah,
I would
Yeah.
agree with that, like, very small synopsis of it. Like, yeah, it's exactly Star Wars, but where they fail is all of the little things. Like, if they put all these little things in there, it still has that core, like, storyline, but you start bringing it into that universe instead of taking it out of the universe. And
Yeah.
I just think it's like they just don't understand it.
yeah, I could get with
That's
that.
the problem.
What was,
Yeah.
if you don't mind me asking, like, what, because like there's certain things in Star Wars that I know just like off the top of my head to take me out of things.
Mhm.
And I'll never forget the most obvious one being Phantom Menace with that freaking communicator. That was absolutely a Gillette woman's razor. Like, so did you have moments like that watching this?
Oh yeah,
Where you're
yes.
like, these kids don't feel like they live in the Star Wars universe. They're too
Yes.
innocent. Like, this is,
No. It's not the kids with the innocence. It's the neighborhood with the cul-de-sac, with the driveway, mowing the grass, having a garage, using like words like money instead of credits.
Got it.
But they, it's the father of the one of Wim wearing glasses. I've never seen anybody in Star Wars wear glasses. It's all of these little things that like Lucas like constantly made efforts to, like, even like the Star Wars like, okay, the Stormtrooper blasters, the amount of research that it took people to figure out that, like, oh, they made that from this, and like I have the size Han and Carbonite. The amount of research that people went through to figure out that the side panels were from a Volvo, like an old Volvo Dash. Like, they went so far to not have things look like something you recognize from your own world. And, like in this latest episode, the kid's talking on a walkie-talkie with a metal extended. It's all of those little things, like they did it in Andor. It was so jarring. The AK-47s. It was so jarring, and it's like, I know they don't really realize that, like, those things make like a big deal. It's a big deal,
Yeah. It's basically,
it's not that it's one thing. It's that it's like hundreds of itty bitty little things where you're sitting there looking at it, and you instantly, like you said, you barely glanced at it, and you're like, oh, that's a lady's Gillette razor. Like, they didn't put any effort into it, you know, and like they used to go to junkyards and take all this stuff apart and find all these obscure pieces in it to make something that like we'd be able to understand, like the binocular things, like what they were made from. And it's like they don't do that at all. What was it? There was something, it was either in this or it was in Acolyte, where it was whatever it was like it was actually something that we would use the exact same thing for. I don't even remember what it was, if it was this show or if it was the Acolyte, but they tend to
Cereal
do
bowl.
that.
Yeah.
Or like a
Okay.
hip.
What
Yeah.
was it?
Yeah.
And had like some kind of water flask or something like that. But that's
Yeah.
not, I think that the issue might be, and I understand exactly what you're saying, because as soon as you were talking about that stuff, I was like, oh yeah, that was kind of like the 37 moment in Andor. I think
Yep.
I'm able to forgive a lot of that because I know that the more we're in depth we go with just this universe with Star Wars, we're going to see more things that are going to feel familiar. Like, I think it was Andor where we saw, aside from Tatooine and the prequels, like someone's apartment. Like like as far as like cereal, eating the cereal with his like
Yeah.
mom and
But
stuff.
see-
So like I think the more we see of like regular people's lives, the more familiar things we're gonna notice. Like, and that's been since New Hope with the Tupperware containers that were serving blue milk. Like you could buy those off the shelf. Like
Yeah.
they were not something that were
See,
modified.
I don't even think it's necessary for them to eat. That's my point. Like, we didn't need to see that guy eating a bowl of cereal. It did nothing for the story. and you're instantly like, this dude's eating cereal.
You saw Luke eating.
Like the stuff that Luke
Characters
ate.
eat before.
Huh?
We've seen
Yeah.
characters eat before.
I don't even think it's necessary.
Oh, got
Like,
it.
what did we see? What did we see Luke eat? Was it on Dagobah? What the hell was that?
I
I
mean-
have no idea.
Yeah, it was like Dagobah, I think, like sitting down at the table with his family on Tatooine, and they're so
Yeah, you didn't even see
I
what
think
it was.
with that scene in Andor, it was to show that like this guy's got a fucking boring life.
Right, but
Oh, it
my
was
point is-
boring. It was
What
boring.
I'm saying is,
It's supposed to be
if you're gonna,
We were
like,
bored.
I
I was bored
actually,
watching him eat. I was like, oh my god.
I actually think when they had Rey
Uh-huh.
was awesome, because that was stuff we don't even know what that shit was.
Mm-hmm.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
I
wait.
thought it was really cool that she put that in there. And like, I don't know if it was a muffin, if it was bread or what it was, but it just like swelled up and she ate it. I don't know
Yeah.
what that green stuff was she ate. No clue. That could have been Play-Doh for all I know. I have no clue what it is.
or like this
That's
show
not-
with the ramen bar with like those
Yes.
like cockroach looking things. Like, yeah, that stuff's cool. Like that.
Right.
That's not. That's out
Yeah,
of the
But
universe.
like my point is like the whole thing with the cereal was, if you're gonna if you really think it's that necessary to the storyline, you know, to tell this story that he eats breakfast or whatever, you know,
Mhm.
eats dinner, don't make it just like purple kicks. Like, I don't know. Like whatever they did with Rey was clever, it was innovative. I was totally down for it. But then they dropped the ball when they make Chewie eat a rotisserie chicken from Harris Teeter.
It was a
that's what
porn,
I'm talking
though. It was a
Come
porn.
on, it was a pour.
Yeah, but you know what? It's like a
Modified
rotisserie
muffin.
chicken that I get at Harris Teeter. You know, like
Yeah. Well, I was
you
gonna
know,
say-
whenever they had the thing on Return of the Jedi, like that was a whole bunch of stuff that was slapped together. You know, it took a lot for us to figure out what animal that was that they lured Chewie in.
Yeah.
I just think that they don't think some of these little things are important, but when it draws you out, like I actually think they need to stop using well-known actors.
Really, I thought Jude Law did a great job.
I don't have a problem with Jude Law. but there's some actors when you look at them, just like, oh, I can't unsee that. That's so and so.
Yeah, but they didn't have that
You know.
here, did they?
No. I'm not saying this show. I'm not talking about, but like they
Okay.
did it in other shows, like
Gotcha.
where, like
You
they
talking about
want to
Acolyte?
use.
Danny Trujillo as the Rancor keeper.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, that one was
Um,
definitely
God,
forced.
who was the other one?
I thought Machete was gonna come
Lizzo
out.
and Jack Black.
Oh yeah. That
Oh,
one.
yeah, you know,
No,
like,
I don't want to. I've already forgot about that episode.
but like,
Oh wait,
Yeah.
there's certain actors where it's really difficult for me
Mhm.
to unsee them as that actor.
yeah,
I'm trying to think of somebody. Okay, like Tom Cruise. If they put Tom Cruise in it, it's going to be very difficult to see that it's not Tom Cruise. And I think one of the awesome magical things that Star Wars always did is they almost took exclusively very low level or unknown actors, and I
Mhm.
think they nailed it with The Force Awakens. Like there was really nobody in that was a big time actor to where, you know, you've seen this dude or this lady is this one character that I can't unsee. But I think Star Wars is innovative enough, clever enough that they don't need a big name. I think Star Wars is the megastar, not putting in a certain actor or actress.
So what is your score for this show?
I'd say like a 6. Like
6.
yeah, I mean it was fine. I could have done without the pirate stuff. It was a little bit too much on the nose. But I like the whole adventure. You know, the kids want to get out and do something. And they get kind of like thrust into this whole pirate battle thing. But I think it was a little anticlimactic for sure. I was expecting a little bit something more. I was expecting whoever the supervisor was to maybe be the pirate that crashed.
Yeah.
And you know, it was just a droid. Like that was really.
I really still wanted it to be Hondo behind the supervisor.
Yeah, like yeah, I'd have been down for that. Like somebody that was essentially like it didn't seem like anybody had actually ever met the supervisor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
All right,
mom definitely had not, or didn't
Yeah.
appear to, you know. But
What-
I don't
what
think
do you
anyone
got?
did.
What do you got, PJ?
I like this. So here's my positives on the show. Really love the cinematography. I think they kind of nailed the feeling of Star Wars with the cinematography. I kind of wish they implied this a type of cinematography to other shows like Kenobi, because when you watch Kenobi, it was so cheesy. Like you're like, oh my gosh, how much is the budget on this show? And even with Boba Fett too.
I think
I'm
the
like,
budget
I'm
was
watching
equal to House of the Dragon.
for this one.
No, for the Kenobi show. Or no, I'm sorry, the Acolyte. The Acolyte
the
and House of the
yeah.
Dragon had
Yeah.
the same budget.
Yeah, but this one, I don't know if it had a bigger budget or less or a lesser budget than the Acolyte, but this one felt like, felt like a really well produced like show. I like the kids. I love Jude Law. I think he did such an amazing job. Watching him in this show made me realize again like how great of an actor he is, because I loved him in so many movies, including the one where he was Vasily. He was the sniper.
Oh,
remember
that's
that?
the best.
Yeah,
Enemy at the Gates. Absolutely.
Enemy at the
best.
Gates. And he's such, oh man, I wish we got to explore more of his character and why he acted like the way he is acting now. And like Cece said, that 2 lines that he said and describing why he's acting this way is perfect. It wasn't too much, it wasn't too little, it was just enough. Order 66, watching his master die, and being jaded from that whole situation. And
I'm actually glad that he didn't mention who his master was.
yeah, which really didn't need to know. You could kind of you could kind of visualize what was happening as he was talking about it. Because the whole time I'm like, is he a Jedi? Is he not? What the hell is he? Right? Like, he doesn't act like a Jedi, right? But he has like force powers, and he's force pushing people. He's not force choking them. Then he would definitely be a Sith Lord. He's got the saber, which, by the way, the saber, I don't know. I like the fact that it reflects on their faces, but sometimes I watch it and I'm like, it feels like Theory sabers or Neon Pixel or something like that.
It's the rounded off end.
Yes, the round.
Yeah.
I wish it was a little bit sharper.
Yep.
Right? Because I feel like it's a toy in front of me. Like, I want it to be sharper. I want it to have like a little bit more effect. But that's just like a little nitpick of mine. But it's refreshing. It's definitely refreshing. The only thing with this show, obviously, it's geared towards more towards kids, adolescents, like 12-year-olds. I still enjoyed it. I still watched it, but I didn't find myself like trying to watch it every week, like waking up early right before I go to work and watching it, and then not being spoiled throughout the whole day. To be honest, I just watched the last 2 episodes literally right before we did the podcast.
Same
So
I blame Acolyte on that.
Yeah, I'm
exactly.
not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah.
I tried to stick with Acolyte as far as like, okay, there's a new episode, let me watch it. Okay, there's a new episode. And I was so like, every time it was like, maybe it's gonna get better, or like there's like maybe one cool fight scene. It's like, okay, that keeps you engaged. But I think that's what I'm still traumatized by the disappointment with Acolyte.
Yeah, I mean, and it says here, according to Nielsen, December 2nd to 8th streaming data, it goes Star Wars Skeleton Crew premiered with the lowest viewership of any Star Wars series in its first week. So it just seems that like there wasn't. I mean, obviously got great reviews, right? From Rotten Tomatoes, from Metacritics, and a lot of these like reviewer platforms, right? But it seemed like people weren't engaged in watching it. So I'm wondering, I mean, Jeff, what's your thoughts on that? Like, is it because of the Acolyte, and just why people are just like, you know what, I don't want to go through that again. They're traumatized about like the divisiveness of the community, the toxicness. So
I think it's really even simple too. Like, I think it's when you determine that an episode is going to be 20 or 30 minutes, I can sneak that in throughout the week. I don't have to set aside certain time to go watch that. Like, even what you just did, like, you knew that like you could sneak that in before you got on the show. So I'm not going to literally go over there and watch it, or I'm going to wait until the thing completes, because I know it's 20, 30 minute episodes. So I don't have to invest. Like, why would I invest my time during the week? Why wouldn't I just wait until the end and watch the whole thing? Yeah. I do think Acolyte spoils it a bit. Acolyte was so miserable that people like, I'll wait and I'll see how people get reviewed on it, and then maybe I'll go watch it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. How about you, CC?
I think it kind of got like soloed. I think people either had like a bad taste in their mouth from Acolyte, kind of like how people had a bad taste in their mouth from The Last Jedi, that it kind of like got the raw end of the deal, and people didn't show up for it, which totally makes sense. Like, I'm glad I watched it the way I did, but we've been like the whole 18 minutes after you consider opening credits, closing credits is bullshit. Like,
oh yes,
bizarre. And I understand like there's a lot of HBO shows I love, like a lot of those like 1 hour programs, and the way they describe it is like, hey, if you have like House of the Dragon, for example, and it has like 8 or 10 episodes, those are like, when you combine them, multiple feature films, as far as like the writing, the budget, the energy, the time in filming all those episodes. So I understand somewhat, but I don't think you can fault an audience for not showing up when especially in this state, like in the TikTok era, which is kind of like what I think they're talking about with the whole supervisor and algorithms. Like, we don't have time for that. Like, if you're going to give us 18, 20 minutes episodes, then yeah, we're going to wait till the whole thing airs, or there's like 4 episodes out, like 4 weeks in, and just watch 4 at once because I've got an hour, or I've got an hour and a half where I can watch it.
It's like instant gratification, right? Like we need to kind of, that's why I love Netflix. You know, I still haven't canceled my Netflix account, you know, and I've been a member of Netflix for such a long time, ever since they came out in the early 2000s.
You got the DVDs.
Yeah, the DVDs. Oh yeah, and you have to mail them out too.
Yes.
But the thing too is that I love the fact when they release a show, they release it all at once.
Yeah.
Right. If you could binge watch it all in one day, great. If you could spread them out at your own leisure, great. And sometimes a lot of shows do well when you release it all at the same time, right? Where you could, okay, it might have been a bad episode. Now you could just go right next to the next one, and that next episode might be great and make up for that bad or filler episode, right? I just don't like this. We wait a week for 20 minutes. I totally agree with you, CC. Totally agree with you.
It's almost like comic book readers and non-comic book readers, because like I started reading comic books back in 2015 because Marvel, they restarted the Star Wars ones, basically.
Yeah.
And I had a pull list where every Wednesday I had like a few books that I'd pick up from my local comic book shop until I realized I did not have the patience for that crap, because it's the same. It's a small book. It's one of like 8, 10, 15, what have you, whatever the run is.
Sometimes 100. Yeah.
Sometimes more than that, right? And so by the time I get the second one, I'd be like, I don't remember the first one. Like now I got to reread the first one. So I just realized that I don't have the patience for that, and I just would buy the trade paperbacks once the story had concluded. So I think that they're probably learning the hard way that in this day and age, with all the streaming services that we have, that week to week release schedule does not work for anything that's not basic cable, basically.
Yeah, and you know what? If, like you said, if you're gonna make us wait, give us an hour episode. Make it worthwhile, right? How about you, Anthony?
What was the initial question?
Oh, come on. You're not even paying attention, sir.
I am, but I'm just like...
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
He's proving the point. We need instant gratification. You can't keep us waiting. Like, come on, go.
Right. Right.
Hey, no. I was asking, like, why do you think the low viewership for a Skeleton Crew?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think it's probably a lot of different things. I think... Acolyte was probably like the last straw. You know, you even go back and like Kenobi was lackluster. I don't really think like the third season of Mandalorian wasn't that good. You know, even Boba Fett was not that good. So like a lot of people just kind of been like, man, they're just not hitting it. They're not getting it. And so like people aren't really interested in watching it. And I think Acolyte was probably like the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't know why they're like locked into this 20 minute episodes. The only way that I would say that maybe the 30 minute episodes would be good is if the quality was like top level. You know, and so like if you watch the whole thing as one, it would be like you're watching a movie. Maybe get on board with that, but
it's hard. It's really hard unless it's like some sort of comedy. I think it's really hard to do it.
Yeah,
in a 30-minute episode.
Really like. I would say the easiest thing to compare Star Wars to with the amount of like set design, CG is like House of the Dragon. And they're popping out our episodes. It's must-see watch. They are phenomenal.
Even the Penguin.
Yeah, I've only watched half the Penguin. I need to watch the second half, but it felt really good. But I understand that like Star Wars has a lot of CG, a lot of practical effects. This isn't just like going out to a street and filming and making it look like a movie. But the budgets are really close, per episode with House of the Dragon and Star Wars. And we're seeing like night and day difference. I mean, it's like House of the Dragon is far better, like visually, the set design, all that stuff, and it's like almost the same amount of money per episode, and we're getting an hour versus like like you said, some of them are 18 minutes, when you take out the beginning and the credits.
Fluff, the beginning, the end credits, and also I'm not sure if I gave my rating for the show itself. I gave it like a 7.8. I'm close to an 8. Like I said, I enjoyed it, but there's been sometimes I find myself tuning out during the show where I'm like, oh, okay, let's get to the point where the chase scene will be like 10-15 minutes long. But again, refreshing. I enjoyed it still. It felt like Star Wars to me, like meaning just the set design, the props, the everything, right? But I think it's one of those things where this definitely could have benefited in the big screen. Just because it's even though with a 20-minute episode, even the 30-minute episodes, I felt like there's still a few like filler episodes here and there. So yeah.
One thing I forgot to mention that I thought they actually have done really well with this one, because I noticed it maybe like 3 or 4 episodes ago, is the score was better, I think, done in some aspects.
Yeah.
It was different enough that it didn't feel like an Empire versus Rebellion, but you still had hints of kind of like the way like some of the themes would be. So I thought they've actually done pretty decent on that in this.
Yeah.
And again, I think the kids were the least of the problem.
Yeah. I don't think I had a problem with the kids.
No. Yeah. I mean, I kind of was like going into it thinking like, how are they going to be? But they a problem.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. Anthony, I don't. I'll message you on the side. All right, we'll move on. And
wait, what was your score? What was your score?
7.8. 7.8.
7.8.
Yeah. I gotta be specific, man.
So it's like, so from the 4 of us, that's a 7.5, right? So.
Yeah, it's average. It's enjoyable. So, all right, let's move on to another topic I do want to discuss is, and thanks to CC, I think she was one of the first ones to post this, Diamond Select Toys and Diamond Comic Distributors, right? Which is pretty much the owners of Diamond Select Toys, Gentle Giant. They are producers of some really good Star Wars products, right? Is filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So
sorry, I'm laughing because I could hear Jeff's keys. He just got
yeah, well, because Dubak's on there trying to mess with me now. So
yeah. So I saw this on oh god, it was actually a few different groups, but I think the first ones I saw were the comic groups more than anything, because they at one point had the monopoly when it came to, I read this, it was really incredibly long, but there's a guy here in Colorado who has I think it's the largest comic book store in Colorado, and talked about how this company at one point kind of had the monopoly on comic book distribution for the entirety of the United States and a lot of the UK, if not the whole UK. So I think, like he was talking about, it's quite alarming. But it sounds like, unlike the situation with XM where they're like the statue company, there might be a buyer in place. It sounds like there could be a buyer in place, but there's just multiple arms to this company besides Diamond Select Toys.
Gentle Giant, yeah.
Giant. So I think for the thing that makes the most sense for me is Gentle Giant. I like to say on Rogue One 6 we have like a love-hate relationship with Gentle Giant.
Yeah, I think a lot of us do.
So long as it's not like a human face, I think they do really good work.
Yeah,
if it's aliens or troopers or whatever, it's awesome.
Mhm.
And like one of the first things I think I ever got from them was actually a Rorschach half-scale bust from Watchmen, which is kind of obscure. So I think
yeah.
they kind of do some cool characters besides the Star Wars stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Like, obviously, Gentle Giant is still putting out pre-orders. I don't think anyone needs to be concerned about what's going to happen with those pre-orders. It's just, hey, guess what? Like, it's probably going to get bought out by someone. People have mentioned they would hope something like McFarlane, who's been doing a lot of the stuff that Diamond Select used to, as far as like the Batman black and white statue line, which I love. I have no idea, but people have been pretty optimistic about this since the news came out. That it's not the end of the road for Gentle Giant.
But what? I mean, yeah, Gentle Giant. I feel like because that is a really nice license. I mean, you don't want to lose what licenses that they have, right? They have licenses to 1/7 scale, 1/6 scale, I believe, as well.
They also do, when we talked about it,
Marvel. They have, yeah.
I think was the last show. Someone's show, they talked about the 12-inch Kenner figures.
Yeah, those are the jumbo figure. Yeah, those are nice too.
I think, yeah, you're right. Like they kind of have, despite what we say about some of the quality of their work, I think it's honestly the paint jobs, which that could be the silver lining of this. The things we've had issues with as far as the quality of their work, those human head sculpts, I think it's less their sculptors, because somehow I ended up becoming Facebook friends with a few of the sculptors who do work for Gentle Giant, and the renders are great. It's when they go to paint that you're like, what happened, dude?
The factory. I mean, that's probably where they cut costs, right? To make it at a reasonable price is the factories that they send it to. And
so maybe if they get bought out by someone who has more resources to use better factories, better paint jobs, I think that would be really encouraging.
Yeah. But wonder why they filed for a chapter. Are they just not making money? I'm assuming.
I think that I don't know. I don't know as far as like Gentle Giant goes, because they certainly have a lot of stuff for pre-order. I don't think a lot of it sells out really fast. But I will say, just like I think the comic book world has always been kind of hurting. They put a lot of variant covers that some people collect. I collect some of them, but as far as like the hype, the prices, the culture, I think it's different now. Like even Mike Costa has told me like he wasted so much time reading comic books through the Marvel app, DC Infinite. Like those are the apps I use to read comic books, as opposed to the physical ones, as opposed to the trade paperbacks I was talking about.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if it's just the global cultural shift against having pull lists where you're going to the comic book stores, your local comic book shops, the ones that survived COVID. Most of them don't exist anymore. But I don't think a lot of people are going to their comic book store weekly and getting 10, 15 stories that they're keeping up with constantly. I think that's probably I think it might have been the bread and butter of their business. And I think that could be why.
Plus, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like the writing has been sucky with some of these mainstream comic books. Like, how many Batman comic books do you need to have, right? Multiverses, or okay, I mean, I know probably offended CC. No, but I'm just saying, like, I know, sorry, I used Batman, but I'm talking about even Marvel. There's like
Yeah.
So many variants, like retelling the story of Spider-Man over and over again. I think the comic books that does well are the independent comic books that you see on that they turn into shows on Netflix or Amazon, and things like that. Unique comic books, right? Whether it be The
Mike.
Boys or whether it be what's the other one on Amazon that's kind of like The Boys, right? That superhero movie, Invincible, paper, whatever girls. I forgot the name of that.
Well,
But
I
there's
think
a lot.
you hit the nail on the head too. You mentioned shows, like you mentioned movies. I think that why read the original Sandman? Let's not talk about Neil Gaiman, but why read the original Sandman when you could just watch the show on Netflix?
Yeah.
Why read The Boys if you could just watch the show on Amazon?
Yeah.
I think the comic book stuff, so growing up, right? I used to go to the gas station and get G.I. Joe. I couldn't wait to get the G.I. Joe comic book, right? Pick it up at the thing, go home and get it read. But then I got out of comic books for a long time and I stopped doing all of that as I got older. But then even trying to go back to comic books as an older adult, like the War of the Bounty Hunter stuff, right? They were doing so much crossover even within the Star Wars comics where it's in order to complete the story, you got to go over to this other thing and get this episode. And then there was a variety of those. And you're like, shit. It was just confusing because even when you go to the comic book store and you're like, hey, I want all the War of the Bounty Hunters. And they're like, well, do you want all the little sub stories too? And you're like, yeah, why wouldn't I want that? And he's like, well, then you got to have Star Wars number 500 over here. And you got to have Boba Fett number 5 here.
Yeah, I did that, and I'm like, I find myself not even reading them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know they do that. I know they do that with the Marvel stuff and the DC things. They have all those different cross, and I think they do it so that you'll buy so maybe you'll get interested in a story over here, so then you pick up those. Makes sense, but it loses some fans there.
Yeah, so. And with Gentle Giant and with CC and the rest of the Rogue 16 gang, and Anthony, you agree too, they make some really good Alien pieces, right? Or Legends in 3D bus and things like that. And I look at some of their Marvel stuff, they're pretty good too. And because of this new video game, Marvel Rivals, I know a lot of kids now, especially some of my friends' kids, they're like, hey PJ, you like collecting statues. My son wants to buy some now, but the cheaper version. So they want the PVC Marvel statue, which Diamond Select, because I recommend them to go Diamond Select Toys because they're the only ones that does them. So there's a place for those type of collectors, but I just don't understand. Maybe it's just the way it is now with collecting, right? Collecting is hard. You see some of these pieces, whether it be J&D Studios with, I don't know, I heard that one Joker that they released, right, was $2,000 or something like that. I'm like, $2,000 for a 1/6 scale figure?
And they recalled it for quality issues?
They recalled it for quality issues. I mean, you better recall it for quality issue if you're having quality issues and charging people $2,000 for a 1/6 scale figure. But again, it's just the way the world now. I just think with a lot of things, the economy, the inflation, I don't think people are going out of their way to buy comic books or even buying collectibles, in general. Right. I think a lot of people are, maybe spending their money on video games that are free now. Some of them are free, or just not collecting as much as they used to. It's not like COVID where people were home and getting free stimulus checks and then using that to buy whatever, or get into a new hobby or something, right?
Well, I think we keep talking about, and we're not. I think we're more fortunate than we realize as far as the UK's cost of living crisis.
Yeah,
we keep complaining about the price of groceries, and then we're surprised when comic book companies go out of business. I'm not. And I think too that a lot of these companies, as far as like the other conversation was, okay, like XM, we have no idea what's happening with XM Studios.
Yeah.
If bought out, if they're filing for bankruptcy, whether they could pay their factories or not. We have no idea what happened with that.
Yeah.
As far as transparency goes, Tweeterhead has talked about their issues, and I don't collect anything from Tweeterhead, but they've talked about like the cancellations are killing their business as far as people ordering shit that they can't afford, or suddenly some life thing happens and they have to try to cancel it. I'm sweating because, hey, like if we're gonna get certain import fees for getting things from other countries, in a few weeks or so, the price of electronics might go up. The price of even custom statues coming from China are going to go up, let alone the licensed ones. I think they're all like really valid concerns about like, we don't have the extra scratch, whether it was stimulus money or not, to be buying comics or statues when the cost of groceries is as high as it is.
I definitely agree with you, because I'm seeing it now too. Look at Sideshow. Look at the edition sizes on those pieces. They're not even over 1,000. They're giving away Hot Toys figures. Literally, I mean, CC, Jeff, even Anthony. I think we could safely say that we've been collecting for a long time. And I've never seen Sideshow give away a 2-pack worth $500 for free. All you got to do is spend $300. It's like they're begging you to take it away from them. Just they can't sell it.
Is it worth it then if they can't barely give it away?
I think some of these figures cost like $50 to make. With no, I swear to you, because
I think you're probably right.
Can I tell you? I you know why I say that? Because Etterbay, right? They make figures too. Like they own the license for NBA. And I remember they were selling, because they just couldn't sell it. They were selling a $300 Shaq figure, right? It was like, pretty tall, for $50, brand new. So I'm like, $50? That's including the license and packaging and manufacturing, and that's basically.
And anytime like a company discounts it so much that you're just in complete shock, always remember they're not losing money on that sale.
Yeah.
No matter how insane it may be, they're not taking a bath on it.
Yeah, because they're manufacturing overseas, where it's the labor is cheaper there, and like the cost of materials are cheaper. So yeah, I think. But damn, I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. Where
the Sideshow thing for me, the final straw was that whole like re-releasing the Mythos. That was the final straw for me, where I'm like,
it's gonna bite them in the ass big time.
Yeah, they just devalue your. Again, it's not because you're trying to like hoard and then resell, but it's like, if I ever want to get rid of something and I've invested in it, like it'd be the same thing with like CC with art, right? I mean, you don't want the person to like re-release the exact same art and say, oh, you know what, now it's this quantity, right? It's like, you just devalued my investment that I put into it. And I know a lot of people don't like my approach on this, but like, I
agree with you, man.
I mean, I don't want that. Like,
no, listen, in every collecting community, whether you're collecting stamps, you're collecting coins, you're collecting jerseys, sports memorabilia, you have to have like this ecosystem, right? Where you collect, you don't want it, then you sell it, and then you get your money back, or most of it back, right? Or you want to break even,
or at least be flat.
Or be flat, Yeah. You're not trying to make this, I'm going to turn this into a living, but some sort of, return on your or ROI, return on your investment, as you could say, and then use that to buy more collectibles. And then it's just this nice ecosystem, just goes around and round and around and around, and it keeps you collecting more. But you're absolutely right. When you release like a statue that's 1/5 scale, and then you're like, you buy it because, hey, I'm not a 1/5 scale collector, but I really like that statue. I think it's amazing sculpt. I'll buy it. And then they slap you in the face like 2 years later and release the actual scale that you wanted.
Yep.
Plus light up features.
Plus light up feature. Bigger slap in the face.
But now they're doing that in the 1/6 too, right? Because all these people invested in 1/6, right? So you look at all the clones, right? They invested all that money in clones, all like Wolfpack, right? That was going for crazy money, right? And now that they just dropped the bottom out of that for all the collectors. You can't make your money back off of those.
Yeah, and go ahead. Sorry.
I think there's two like philosophies to when this stuff happens. So there's both viewers where it's like, well, that screws up an investment. Whether you're, I agree. I think I'm like you are when it comes to collecting, both of you. As far as like, I don't buy something because like, I think, oh, hey, well, when I sell that later, I could always sell it for a profit or make my money back. Whenever I buy something, I assume I'm going to buy it because I want it and I'm going to keep it.
Yeah.
I freaking hate selling stuff anyway. But the other philosophy I have on a lot of this stuff, including this, where there's people who are ecstatic that it's finally in the scale that they want with the light up features that they've always wanted, where it's kind of like the cost of doing business is the risk that something like this is going to happen, or and I call it it was on Netflix, the Marie Kondo method, where, gee, I had this thing. It used to spark joy. It no longer sparks joy. I'm going to get rid of it. And if it means I take a hit, then that was the cost of me renting this item. That was the cost of me owning it and enjoying it until it no longer sparked joy. So it's like with art prints. I have some art prints that are worth a lot because they're old. They didn't do a lot of them. They've always been popular. I have some art prints I don't think I can give away. Like I could sell them for what I bought them for, but the time, the effort, the listing them, the dealing with people, I don't like people. Like it doesn't seem worth it. It's sometimes easier to just hold on to those, which for art prints it's easier to store them. They're not like statues. Yeah. So for me, if I were deep in this line, the question I would have is, okay, do I stick with this? Do I stick with the 1/5? It is smaller. Maybe they're easier to display. Maybe it's easier to have all of them. Or if this is like, I've been waiting for this for years, then I think selling them either for the same price or taking a slight hit, I think is worth it to you, hopefully, if you've been waiting for this for as long as you have.
See, the thing too is that, CC, if I were to try and sell my Mythos Asajj or Maul, I would have to sell it. I spent $600 for it. To sell it right now, right this moment, I would have to sell for $250. I mean, in the chat too, how much would you buy a used 1/5 scale Mythos Maul? Right?
I just sold the Asajj for $400, but it also cost me $100 to ship it because the shipping is jacked right now too.
And shipping is jacked too. Yeah. And like that's why I encourage people to watch that show on Netflix. I know I talk about it all the time on this show, but I think it's called Golden Goldin Era of Collecting or something like that. And you see like all these collectors from all walks of life. They buy sports worn jerseys, right? Or sneakers or video games. The one thing with them is that they buy it, they collect it, they enjoy them, but also knowing the fact that, hey, they run out of room, they run out of space, and there's the new thing that is nice and shiny that they want to get. They have to make room, and obviously maybe they're limited in terms of their budget or whatever the case is. They could sell something out of their collection to fund their collection. It's not about, no one's going to make money buying and flipping statues. That's not the case in this day and age. But at least you want to stay in the game as long as you can, because these statues are getting more and more expensive. Like, I bet you these Mythos statues are going to be like about close to $1,000, just like the Mythos Vader. Yeah. And it's just, it's like, okay, now I have this Asajj Ventress, right? Now you sold it for 400, or maybe, I'm sorry, your profit's like 300, right? Because you have to pay for shipping. Yep. now you want to buy that new Asajj Ventress. That's going to be like maybe $900. It's like, is that sustainable in terms of collecting? No, it's not. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like it's such a cheap move and lazy, because obviously this was sculpted by the Kucharik brothers, right? And they're no longer working for Sideshow. I think they're exclusive to PCS.
Yeah.
So they're just taking advantage of the sculpts that they left behind. And same thing with Hot Toys too. Like that's why I think CC, I think we had a discussion on Facebook group about that. Sabine Wren, like they've done it before with Ahsoka, where they release this portrait, and I'm like, oh, it looks cool, but it doesn't look like her. And they release a newer version that looks like her. So it's like, wait a minute, that figure is 2 years old. Now, how are you going to look at that figure and look at the new one and say, that's a better sculpt? Like, what are you going to do with the old one? And
they promote it that way.
And they promote it that way.
Yeah.
So now how can you even sell the old one? Who's going to want to buy your old one?
Yeah.
Well, like, and the way I see it too is I can't get mad at businesses for doing what businesses do. And that's making a product they think will sell. I don't get annoyed with Hyundai every time they come out with a new Tucson because I have an older one, even though it depreciates mine every year. It's just going to happen. It's just, and I think there should be more transparency with these companies. And I think that they're hearing people constantly complain, not so much with different scales. They've kind of done it with different scales, but like, hey, if you're going to release a statue, release every freaking variant you ever think you're going to do. As far as like, hey, is it like a black suit Batman? Is it a blue suit Batman? Is it a purple suit Catwoman? Is it a black suit Catwoman? Like, just like all cards on the table as best as they possibly can. And people said the same thing about PCS. I really like what they're doing with Star Wars, but they released the mall, and then they release a hyper-real mall. They're doing the right thing, though. They're listening to people. They're saying that they'll transfer NRDs if you're more interested in the slightly more expensive hyper-real one versus the first one they released. But wouldn't it have been nice to know that they're working on 2 mall statues within the span of like a year? So that before you put your money somewhere?
Yeah, no, I just think, I don't know why they decided to do it that way. That's a question I would like to ask them. But honestly, though, like that one, I don't understand. But at least it's not the same like sculpt. Thank goodness. Yeah. It's a little bit different. So
and you can transfer. The Sideshow won't let you transfer unless they've delayed the statue.
Yeah,
Sideshow's
I
like
think
basically like, screw you.
I think PJ, I think you're onto something when you said the Kucharik brothers are no longer there. I don't think they have anything in the hopper, and I think this was an easy grab. Like, these were very popular statues. What, maybe whatever reason they just said, maybe they sell more of the quarter scale than they do of the 1/5, and they said, hey, these were bangers. What if we just moved the Mythos over and started doing it quarter scale? Like, I don't think this was a long drawn out plan.
No.
But like like, imagine if this was in the reverse. I don't think anybody would give a shit. For instance, Regal Robot did the Great Big Rancor. And then they came out with a smaller one. Like, nobody cared. Because there were some people that just could not, they had no room for the big one. And then the people that bought the big one damn sure didn't want the small one.
Well, it's 2 pieces of Star Wars history there, right? One was the actual prop, right, that they used during filming, and the other one was a concept. So they're different in their own.
Had they done the small one first, and everybody jumped on the small one, and then came out with a bigger one, people that were like, I would have bought the bigger one. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, had they done the quarter scale first, and this is the way it was, it had the light up features, then they go back and they say, hey, we're going to do a 1/5 line and it's going to be less expensive. I don't think the people that bought the quarter scale would be mad.
No, I agree with you, because I wouldn't be mad. I think
Yeah.
I think
I have
I think
Vader
you,
and
you're
the
talking about
Saj.
you're talking about Sideshow, not Regal Royal, because Sideshow did that with the Rancor. They had the bigger version, and they scaled it
Right,
down
and-
to a smaller
And
version, and no one
nobody
really
got
cared.
mad.
No one got mad,
Right.
and it,
That's
it,
my
it pleased
point.
the people, and it pleased the people that missed out on the bigger one.
Or the people that
Um,
said, "Hey, that thing's way too big. I don't have anywhere to put it."
Yeah,
You know, and then you could get the small one,
yeah,
and you still get the Rancor, but
Mhm.
you number one, you didn't have to pay that much money, and it
Yeah.
doesn't take up as much room. 'Cause
yeah.
see,
I just
I'm in the same boat Jeff is. I've got the Saj and the Vader, and I paid what was $600-700 after shipping or whatever. Like, I'm irritated. Like, just on principle alone, as much as I would really like to have both of those in quarter scale, because I don't have the whole line. And I was considering getting the Obi-Wan one, but now I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to
yeah.
get it.
And then to actually collect the whole line now in quarter scale is going to be super expensive. You're going to spend like $5,000 on all of them.
Yeah, like I didn't
Well,
like the
close
ball.
to it. Yeah.
I didn't like the ball. I didn't like the Emperor. Like, I didn't like the floating thing. I
Mhm.
don't like the shirtless Maul. You know, I just don't like that. But
Yeah, it just oh my gosh, it just sucks.
it
'cause
wasn't like I wasn't a completionist. Didn't have to have.
I was a completion. I have pretty much all the mythos, and it just sucks now when I look at it. I'm like, I just don't like it now. It's like, damn it. It's just
See,
they have the quarter scale one.
well, like, I guess I'm kind of somewhat in like the Kenobi, right? So the Kenobi means more to me, right, than the mythos in the mythos Asajj and right Maul and Ahsoka, right? I even have Ahsoka, yeah, and Kenobi. But like the mythos Kenobi in quarter scale, that means that means more to me. I have a better connection there. So I'm like, I'd rather get rid of all the 1/5 because it doesn't fit with the Kenobi, and get the Kenobi and then just get rid of 1/5 altogether and be like, look, I'm done there. I don't want that stuff.
Yeah.
So
I'm just wondering, right? And Cece, what's your thoughts on this one, right? Is that okay? So now you see a lot of people, a lot of collecting companies, kind of like, they'll give you like a version of a character, but in the back of their minds, they know the sculpt is not there, but they could definitely improve on it. With the next release, it's almost like having the newest iPhone, knowing the fact that they have the technology for all the different better pixel camera, the processor. They already have all that future technology. They just don't want to release it. They want to milk it as much as possible. Do you think that's the case with a lot of these companies, and will it bite them in their butt in the future?
I don't think so, because look at how long they've been doing this. Like, we can get upset and we could say it's a slap in the face and like this is unethical and like just on principle we're not going to buy it, but like that's like being addicted to drugs and you get upset because your dealer has better drugs all of a sudden. Does that mean you're going to stop buying the drugs? No, you still need the drugs. Like, you're still addicted. Like, I don't like, they're still going to make money off of these statues, and there's always going to be room for improvement. It's almost like the 1/6 Sideshow figures. I don't collect 1/6 figures at all, but I know for years I heard they were crap. But hey, they did the bounty hunters, or they did characters that Hot Toys won't do. That's like being upset if Hot Toys suddenly decides to do those characters. Well, which is it? Do you want them to improve and keep doing better and being more innovative and having better quality products? Or do you just be content with the fact that you spent the money years ago and you're content spending that money years ago?
Yeah.
I do think Anthony brings up a good point as far as it being a cash cow, because they have the sculpt. They're not working with the Carrick brothers anymore. I also think, because I'm that kind of nerd, I think their licensing is a little different because it's Mythos. That's my tinfoil hat theory. Because they're the art prints that they do that accompany I gotta bring it back to art prints. The art prints that they do that accompany the Mythos statues, they're actually not licensed through Acme. They're licensed through Sideshow directly. So I think they're able to skirt that because the Mythos, like, not character because it's Maul, it's Vader, it's Asajj, they're Star Wars characters, but I think the fact that they're interpreted by Sideshow like artists means that there's some nuance to their license which allows them to always been do them in 1/5 and now 1/4. So it wouldn't surprise me if maybe Disney doesn't get as much of a kickback on these because it's not technically their designs. It's a reimagining of their characters that they've already established. So I think that's more a reason why they'd be so inclined to make these in such a larger scale too. Because it's a thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just that, like, I think at some point, you know, and I hate to compare it, right? Because I feel like with Funko, I think it started off well, right, in the collecting community, but obviously they just overly produced and made so many variants. And, you know, I think a lot of Funko Pop collectors that I know jumped out of that hobby just because it was just way too much and way too many variants and figures. And okay, they got the new one, but it's in this one. And I feel like, you know, with companies like Hot Toys, right, where they're releasing, you know, all these like exclusive, but it's a different variant of that character. I feel like it's, you know, it's one of those things where I hope they're not heading that same direction as Funko is, just because it pulls me out of the game. For me, it's just like, I just, you know, I see the writing in the wall and I say, hey, listen, you guys are milking me. It's like, you know, as a consumer, like I know when I'm being milked, and that sounds weird.
No Diddy.
Yeah,
I hope.
But I just think this is why I just got out of like Hot Toys, and for that reason alone, it's just way too much. And I hear from other collectors, they're like, damn, they just released another one and another one. And it's just, it's hard to collect all of these, right? Imagine collecting all of Clone Wars, all of the troopers, all those, you know, vehicles. On top of that, do you even have room to collect the other stuff like the Bad Batch figures? And, you know, the Bad Batch crew alone is over $1,000 to collect. They're close to like 14, 1500.
Well, that's the other thing. They've been creeping the 1/6 price up, so that now the statues in the 1/6 are having this almost intersection. So now they're forced to raise statue pricing because the 1/6 is creeping up on the statue.
Yeah.
So it's like
something I think would have went a long way with this whole Mythos going up is they didn't have the research and development into this. Mm-hmm. This was scale it up, figure out a way to make this light up and print. So like they didn't necessarily have to jack the price up, you know, from $695 to like $1,000. You know, if they would have put something out, you know, and maybe there was something where they got some leeway with the licensing to go from 1/5 to 1/4. And if they would have said, hey, listen, you know, we realize a lot of people invest in this 1/5 line. We're discontinuing it. We're going to move forward with the 1/4. We didn't have a lot of money into doing this. So we're not going to, you know, we're only going to make them $800 or something like that. Like, but just like flopping it out there and say, hey, all you just go do this. You know, I think.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say too, is like, you know, the reason why I'm asking all these questions is because, you know, Diamond Select, one of the companies filing for bankruptcy, XM Studios, Tweeterhead, who's next? You know, there's a lot of companies slowly falling down, and you know, it makes you question. Is like, okay, do we really need to do this? When you see the climate that you're living in, do you really want to do this to your collectors and to your consumers? Because I'm telling you, I wouldn't take that chance in this climate, knowing the fact that like not a lot of collectors are collecting. You want to put out bangers, but don't piss off the community. It's already a niche hobby. Like,
yeah,
you can't really afford to do that.
This might teach them a lesson.
They
You know,
might.
I don't know how much they pay attention to what people are talking about, but I mean, I think
Yeah.
this
I mean,
is a fairly like understandable thing for us to be a little bit out of shape about it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I still bought the mace, and I bought the Kenobi, but I also bought it before they did this stupid 1/5
Right.
Yeah.
quarter scale garbage.
Yeah. What's up, What's up, Lex?
So,
Zombie Hunter. Dewback.
like I think the difference with like, other companies like car companies or phone companies, we know that there's going to be a better version coming out in
Mhm.
another year. We all know that. That's not a secret,
Yeah.
but like when they do it, like this is a collectible and they're telling us that they're only going to make so many of these. And then when they come out, whether it be a year, 2 years, I think the most egregious one, and this was early on in my collecting, was the Anakin from Hot Toys. And in June, they release the light side one. And then like in August or September, they have the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Dark Side.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
I
know.
bought both because I'm an
I
Anakin
did
fan.
too.
I even said in my review, I'm a dumbass for doing this, but no, thankfully it paid off because they went up in price, but it's just one of those things. Like, why couldn't they do it like one packaging, 2 head sculpts, and call it a day? But at the
Well, I'll
same
tell you
time,
what I was waiting for them to do was the
What?
Padme on Geonosis.
oh
To
yeah,
release that one, and then 6 months or a year later have the battle damage one.
it's probably
Because if they had done it in the reverse, I don't think anybody would have been mad.
I think they will do it just because they
I
can't.
think it's gonna
They can't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
They have the sculpt. It's easy. They reprint it.
Right.
But
That's another
again,
example of, had you had the choice between the two, I think overwhelmingly most people would have chosen the battle damage one.
yeah. The third difference is that, like, yeah, like, it's a good point. Like with cars and cell phones, we know they're gonna do it, but we could hold off on buying. You don't have to buy because there's so minor improvements that you really don't need that. You need a phone to surf the internet and make calls, right? All the other extra features is just a plus. So,
Yeah, but it would be
not-
like if you
but
found
it's
out, like, all right, this is going to be the last year they do the Ford Mustang. All right,
Yeah.
you go out and you buy it. And then
Yeah.
2 years later, they said, oh, no, we're going to make another one.
Yeah. But the thing too is that there's a need for it, right? These are needs. Collectibles is a luxury, right? It's not like, oh my God, I need this to. No, it's a luxury, and it's just one of those things that I don't know. I just think in this climate where not a lot of people are collecting anymore, just don't take chances like this where you piss off the community and make them not want to collect even more.
Wait, it's supposed to be a luxury? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, shit! I didn't know that. That's probably my problem.
Yeah, mine too. It's a need. But anyway, we'll see how everything plays out. It's curious because I feel it's like CC says, like one by one they're just kind of like falling like dominoes. So
Yeah.
we'll see
Yeah.
who's next. It's a shame
It could
because
bite them in the ass.
these companies make good products. I support all of it, but
Yeah.
just gotta be smart in how you do things.
We'll see how it goes. When are those supposed to be available?
I'm not sure, and
I
they
would assume
probably
anytime.
anytime.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
it's just-
shouldn't be a big turnaround.
Yeah,
No, the last point I would say is they're not the first ones to do it. Like all the other
No.
companies were doing this in the Marvel and the DC
Yeah.
and the Batman stuff. Like they're not the first to do it. So I'm sure they just looked at the other companies and were like, well, shit, they're doing it. Well, you might as well
Right.
just do this now too. So,
yeah. All right. Speaking of Hot Toys, I know I said I was out, but I pre-ordered this last year, so I really need a Dewback in my collection. I did not get the Sand Trooper, right? I know I should have, but I just wanted to Dewback because I want to Dewback in my collection. Anyone picking this one up besides me?
I had this on pre-order and then I canceled it because
What?
Yeah, I canceled it. The thing's way too big. I don't have room for that. So
Dude, it's
no room.
dude, because I missed out on the sideshow one, which is funny. I say this. I've been looking at Macari. People are selling the sideshow one brand new for $350, and I remembered that thing used to cost $2,000.
Exactly.
Yep.
Same thing.
It's so funny. We're just complaining about companies like rehashing shit, and I'm like, this
I know.
is it the same? It devalued the sideshow one significantly.
Yeah. But again, it's one of those things too, like two different companies technically, I think. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I needed this in my collection, so I picked this up. I
See,
can't wait. Yeah.
That's cool.
I kind
I'm a
of
dude.
look at like
Mhm.
some of this I don't see as being egregious as other things. Like
Yeah.
if they come out with, it's been a long time and they come out with a better version of it, like they've done it with the Batman stuff, like the Dark Knight. They've come out,
Mhm.
Hot Toys has done like a 2.0 or something like that. Same thing with the Catwoman. I don't see, because it's been a while, I don't really see that as being as egregious as them coming out with like in a very small window and almost coming out with like a better one. Like, for instance, like if Hot Toys dropped this and then in the summer they announce, hey, we're doing a quarter scale, and it's going to be articulate. Like, then I think you start getting people mad at you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think this looks good though. You guys think it looks good?
I think it looks awesome, but it's probably
Non-
just straight plastic.
Non-smiley. The non-smiley one
Yeah.
looks good.
Yeah. How about you, CC?
I like it. I think it looks cool. The scale is just not what I collect, but yeah, I think also it's refreshing to see more any original trilogy releases from them. Honestly,
Yeah, and creatures too. I'm
Yeah.
a creature guy. Like I had the Rancor. I have I don't want to say Jabba the Hutt is a creature, but it is.
Yeah.
Uh, Dewback is one of my other favorite favorite Star Wars creatures, so I needed to have that. So I know I'm out of Hot Toys, but really I am. I just needed this one in my collection. All right, let's talk about some life size stuff. I know Jeff. I know you mentioned this in the Facebook group that you already obviously. Wait a minute, why is that showing? Oh, it's a commercial. Okay, here it is.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I know. How much is this one?
I did not know
$8,000.
this.
$8
Oh,
grand.
yeah.
If I was a rich man.
Now they've done
Oh,
this
yeah.
before, right?
No,
Yep.
they did.
They had one of these. Yeah, they had one of these years ago.
Oh, I thought they had a life-size one before.
I know this isn't new. They just did the
Oh
video.
yeah.
It's it's funny because I saw this posted and I think it's cool that they did it, but I think most of their life size stuff is open edition.
Yeah.
So they'll
Yeah.
make as many as they sell. So this has been available for several years.
The thing too is I got the life size Han Solo Carbonite. And I'm like, and it was the last one I think because I saw it said sold out on the website. And guess what? They are producing it again. So it's open.
Batches.
So
Yeah.
the 3PO, it's nice that like some of these little pieces are magnetized because when you do like get a custom life size 3PO, a lot of this stuff breaks in shipment. Right. So that's nice. Like even that little hand thing, a lot of people don't do that. They don't put it separately. It's all one piece because it's molded that way or printed. So that's nice. And then the posability where you can actually move his hands, that's harder to do in some of the C3PO groups because they use a PVC like under suit kind of a thing. So it's harder to manipulate it.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, does it talk or no?
Yep, it does.
It does
with
talk.
a remote.
Really?
Yeah, with a remote.
Now I'm already thinking what Jeff is thinking. Would you put your own take on it, Jeff?
I wouldn't on this one. I mean, it's already got a remote. It plays on it, and then the other part too is you can actually like turn the sound
3PO
off
human
with
cyber
the remote.
relations.
So,
Plug
Yeah.
the AC adapter into the power port at the
Oh wow, so
the
it does
power
talk.
button is located
And it has a
back
button
of
at the top.
C-3PO's head, and the included remote control will adjust the volume levels.
That
and
looks like
allow
a
you to skip
car.
through the 20
I love that it
does.
looks
recording.
our remote. That's
To
hilarious.
have the eyes remain lit,
Yeah.
but silence the audio tracks.
the funniest part is when they talk about stuff where they're like,
When not
and there's a
connected,
hook in the
the
back where you can put the
control will be
remote.
attached
There
to
it
the
is.
inside
I'm like,
arm will be
what?
adjusted as well. First,
I
release
guess
the
that's clever. I give it to
It
them.
is. It is, but it's fun. Here's the posability. That's nice.
That's
Yeah.
nice too.
Hand screw the nut back onto the bolt. of
Oh,
the arm.
easy. Okay.
C-3PO
I love how they always tell
also has
when like
information
the
in
life
his
size
hands,
stuff
head,
comes out too. They're always like,
torso.
"This would be great with another person." I'm like, "Yeah, because we all have another person.
Oh,
it's gonna volunteer to help us."
When I put the life size Han Solo and Carbonite, I mean, I just had my son just help me guide it in to put it in,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't have another person to help me with that stuff.
No, my
I-
wife looks at it and goes, "If you can't get it together and in your room by yourself, then you don't need it."
That's what my
Oh,
wife
shit.
said too.
That's like a challenge. I'll do that. That's
No,
not,
it
Yeah.
was a challenge.
That's
So-
that's whenever like the IKEA instructions. It's
Oh,
like have a second person with you, and I'm like, it's like they know I'm single. Like,
yeah,
damn you!
exactly.
Oh my god, watch me do it. Watch me do it. Like the desk I'm in front of right now.
Mhm.
Same thing. It was like get a second person. I'll never forget telling my sister, like, dude, I had like one of the legs of the desk between my knees. Like I was holding stuff with my thighs. Like it was just you just make it work. And then I have the life size Vader, the like Kenobi Vader bust. And that's the only thing I've ever opened where I was like, I wish I had a man to do this. It was so heavy. I ended up like I picked it up and put it on it's like a metal like side table I got from IKEA that I put like furniture slides underneath, and I managed to just slide it across the room where it was going. And I just hope for the best. I like lifted it up in pieces. But yeah, whenever they're like, get someone to help you with this, and I'm like, oh man, they know we're just
Shit.
like, yeah, like we're screwed. I don't have people for that. This is very timely. I'm staring at it. I told my friend like I nearly died putting an art print up because I'm stubborn, and was like, I'm not getting another person to help me. I have a really like large leather couch in front of me, and the art print needed to go pretty high on the wall, right where the armrest of the couch is. And I was like, well, the logical thing is I move this couch that weighs a few 100 pounds out of the way to get the ladder for this art print that's going to go like 8 feet in the air, right? No, that's too
Stand on the
logical and
couch.
safe. And I was like, I'm just gonna stand on the armrest. I'm 5 foot, but I could just stand on the armrest. So what I did was I moved all the stuff out of the way, got the ladder next to the couch, and I used the ladder to literally like pull myself up onto the armrest. And then when I got on the armrest, I realized I had no leverage.
Oh
because
my
I
gosh.
closed the couches to the wall. So I literally put toothpaste on the end of a tape measure. This is how delusional. I'm just like, I'm gonna do it. I'm an independent woman. I can do this. I put toothpaste on the end of a tape measure, and I used that to determine where the nail needed to go. And then I got rid of the tape measure. I hauled my ass up back on the armrest, and I basically used my chest to hold myself up against the wall while I like nailed the nail. It's up there. I did it. I didn't die.
Good
my
job.
God.
Got it.
You know
Yeah,
what?
no, I was like waiting for the punchline. I was like, oh my gosh, on the
I'm still
armrest?
here. But I
Okay.
think that's like I should have just asked someone.
That's
my
dedication.
friends to
But
come
yeah, you
over.
should ask.
Yeah,
if I lived
you end
closer,
up
Cece, I would have helped you, but
when you're moving statues and stuff, you end up having extraordinary strength and balance.
Yes.
Because you're like, shit, it's gonna fall. I'm like,
yeah, I remember just it's one of those things where you come across, right? You're like, should I disassemble it? And that would be the smarter thing way to do things and move it that way, or just carry the whole damn thing. And
Yeah.
no, you just obviously do the the opposite of what you were supposed to do and just move the whole thing yourself and trying to balance it, right? Well, it has like little pieces like rattling and ready to fall off, right? And you're like, please don't fall off. Let please. I hope the portrait doesn't fall off and shatters into pieces, because that's the last thing you want to happen. But
like, what is wrong with us? The last time I moved one of my statues
Oh,
without art,
Mhm.
I, like an idiot, because I collect art prints, I stepped on a hammer.
what?
I
Oh,
was on the floor of my living room. It was like a Lego, but worse. And I did not drop the statue.
Yeah, good job. See, that's what I'm saying.
What's up,
You like build up this thing. I mean, it's gonna hit you like a day or two later, but like you build it up
Oh,
and you're
yeah.
like, I don't know why my back hurts. It's because like, or my arm hurts because of this shit, So
yeah.
See, she and I usually just call each other and say, "Hey, man, I got this heavy statue in. Can you come over and help me?"
Nope.
Yeah, I was
Instead,
gonna
I just
say.
make sure I'm wearing sweatpants that match my outfit in case I die and the firefighters have to come find me.
Oh my god. That's the first thing they're gonna say. Oh wow, she matches. All right, let's go get her out of here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank
it's a
God she
shame.
matches.
Cute. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what a nice outfit. Oh, okay, let's take her out of here.
Nerd. I'm like,
I do want to talk about this. I think this is in the realm of what Jeff Sage might be looking for. So this is a good
Also-
opportunity for CC not to only to explain what these art prints are about and when they're releasing and how much they are, but also to convince Jeff to start collecting art prints.
enabling. Yeah. So
You have the floor, CC.
thank you. I'm gonna trigger absolutely everyone though,
Okay.
because we've talked about
That's why I don't
this
want you to talk about it. I actually want you to delete your post.
literally the whole night. Well, maybe once I say this thing, maybe you'll think differently of it. This is
Okay.
technically a re-release. So they did the thing, they released these. So Acme Archives has the license for Star Wars prints. Anytime Bottleneck, Mondo do Star Wars prints, they're licensed still through Acme. They kind of like borrow. And so these originally, I can't remember when, but I definitely posted them. I think it was maybe a few months ago. They did these in the paper, I want to say all giclée, maybe some lithographs here and there format. I like this one's famous. Understandably why. I think it's obviously a lot more colorful than when we got in the movie. I think that's why it's really popular. It's very whimsical. It was used in a I think NPR radio poster that you can still get that's still quite coveted. This was also available as a canvas version on Acme. I think it still is for a very long time. So what Bottleneck is doing with these, in case you have whiplash over the fact that they released these a few months ago,
Look at this.
is Bottleneck is doing these. The new thing about this is the acrylic panels. So it's based. Do I have one? Yeah. So this one's a little different because it's layered.
Oh, let me just zoom in on you.
So it's like laser cut. You can kind
Wow. So
Where-
these prints are going to come up like these?
Yeah, it looks
of,
three-dimensional.
the only difference is this one you can kind of see where like Spider-Man is more like recessed in there. So these ones are going to be completely flat. But this is kind of what it looks like, where it's a thicker. There you can see that it's laser cut.
Oh yeah.
These will not be layered like this. It'll be flat. It'll be completely flat. It won't be layered, but it'll still be that thick acrylic. You can see with like this is basically the print, this backing. So this is one, a McFarlane one they did quite a while ago. And what's nice about these is you technically don't need glass or acrylic to hang these. As far as there's obviously no hanging hardware in the back, but you could technically frame these and not have to have anything on top of it because there's nothing that's going to be collecting dust because it's one solid piece, the acrylic. The other thing that Jeff and I are talking about is these, because they're acrylic panels, they look really nice in light boxes, like you see in movie theaters.
Ooh,
Oh
that's
my
a cool one.
gosh. Oh my god.
You see the two different
So
prices.
you're
I have
telling
this-
me.
Can you edit that out after the show?
Cece, What? Edit the where to get it?
No, the light box thing, because that
Light
seems to be like
Got it.
Well,
You know-
quick question, CC. Sorry. So you're telling me it's gonna come in the 36 like this archival pigment on 4 millimeter thick acrylic panel. That's what you're talking about. That Spider-Man that you showed us 2 seconds ago
It's similar.
is similar.
Yep, it's not the
sold.
same. Yeah.
Sold.
Well, it's so like I said, it's gonna be that one I just showed you is
Mhm.
technically 3 different acrylic sheets on top of each other. There's the Spider-Man, there's all the webbing. I think it's 2 maybe instead of 3. So it's layered. These ones are not layered. It's gonna be like an art print, but it's gonna be solid acrylic, like
Sold.
the Spider-Man. So they'll look great in, like I said, light boxes because the light's gonna shine through the
Oh
print.
my gosh.
It also makes them easier to swap out. So that was the thing I was talking about, Jeff. Some of these sizes aren't consistent. So
Oh my gosh. What should I
if you
get?
like this one, that
I think
16 by
that's the best one.
This is the
I
best one.
have this one in the
Anthony,
paper.
I already know where you should hang that one. I already know.
Yeah, this was my favorite of the bunch.
Right above my
Um,
head.
Mm-hmm.
Because so like Empire Strikes Back.
So
So
yeah.
the paper one is 12 by 24. It's a giclée. The acrylic panel is 16 inches by 36 inches.
You have enabled Anthony. You see his face? It's been. You want to see a face that's been enabled? Look at Anthony's face. It's enabled.
it's not bad. It's not bad for a price for acrylic too, right?
No,
I mean, it's not bad.
125
Well,
bucks.
I'm gonna be well, we've been so transparent on how we feel about pricing for things. I'm gonna
Yeah.
be very transparent with you on these ones. Acme's pricing's a little interesting. I don't know what happened, if it was like a shift that I didn't notice recently, but a lot of people noticed that some of these prices between like the acrylic panels that are larger and the paper ones that are smaller are very small margins. They recently did that where this artist Phase Runner, he did a series for the prequels. They were 24 by 36 art prints on paper. And then Acme did them as prints that were half the size, but they charged $9 more, even though they're half the size.
Oh,
So I think that makes it more reason why you'd be interested in the acrylic panel versions of these, because the prices are not that much different compared to the paper. The only drawback I'll tell you, like, okay, light boxes, positive. Of course, drawback is with these or the lenticulars that they do, because they're not paper, if you're not displaying them, you're going to have to get used to storing them. They're not like paper prints where you could just put them in a portfolio or a flat file. It's solid. So if you're not going to be displaying these, or you have to store them because you switch them out, they're going to have to get stuck in a closet or something. Like you can't roll them. You can't put them in a portfolio. They're solid. They're not going anywhere. But I think it's cool that they're doing them. These acrylic panels seem to be pretty popular. They tend to do most of their prints in this acrylic panel version, so I'm not surprised. I think the only reason why they're also going to have an allocation of the paper prints available is because, quite frankly, Bottleneck has a large following. So I think people are going to see these for the first time because Bottleneck is putting them out as opposed to Acme. I don't know why that is. It's a shame because all of this stuff would not be possible if it was not for Acme, because they're the ones who have the license.
the license, yeah.
But I don't think it gets any better than Ralph McQuarrie stuff. Some of the older prints, there's some that included like his signature, are incredibly hard to find, or if you can, incredibly expensive. I have one that was a screen print from several years ago, and I think that was still a few $100s because I got it aftermarket. It was the one of Luke and Vader fighting, but it was one of the few screen prints they ever did of a McQuarrie piece. So yeah, I think these are great. They're releasing tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard.
I will remind myself, and Cece, I know you do a great job of reminding everyone on the Facebook group. Please check out Rogue 16. And Yes, I will. So the debate is, I probably will just have to buy one, and I know what to get. Guys, whoever watching, please don't follow me. Don't buy this. Okay.
So scroll
Don't-
down just there for the.
What? The
I just want to
yeah.
see like what's the dimensions of the acrylic one,
36 by 16.
So
and
it's
they're doing 75 and it's 125.
Yes.
So CC, the other thing, so I used to have a bunch of the Ralph McQuarrie portfolio signed pieces.
Mhm.
The portfolio Ralph McQuarrie signed pieces, also the paper that they used to use for those portfolios, the corners, and it would wrinkle bad. And a lot of times when Ralph McQuarrie was signing those at events, because they were so like cheap, or he got them in the mail, they a lot of times those are trashed. Like the portfolio ones that Ralph McQuarrie signed, if you find a decent one where he actually put a full signature on it,
Mhm.
they're usually really bad shape and need to be framed and need to be matted because the corners are soft on all of them.
Yeah.
So if you see one, they still were going for pretty good, like decent price. I mean, even like I want to say like a year and a half ago, you could probably get a portfolio Ralph McQuarrie that was signed full signature for like $150, $200, right? So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. So like, I'm really envious of Rob from RS because he has I think they called it the Super Trooper one, where it's like the yellow background and the multiple different like iterations of Boba Fett when it was the Super Trooper, like all white, and that's signed by Ralph McQuarrie, and that's gorgeous. I don't know who did those, but I think that's like I don't want to say like a proper print, but like I think the paper's decent. I will say this is the one I have in a paper print, and as soon as I took it out, I actually was really impressed with. It's a thicker paper. It's really good quality if you want to get the paper one. And I will say, like, they're not going to re-release these.
I bet. I mean, with acrylic panel, I don't think they will. So
for sure, if they do these images, which are very iconic, they're going to end up just doing them in a different size.
I
They would
need to
have
get. Oh,
Yeah.
Cece, why do you do this to us? Why?
Don't scroll down to the TIE Fighter one because no, I can't look at
See,
stop.
that one's good too.
Why? Why?
Because that's tempting. That was the other one.
Cece, you enabled us. It's time to have a taste of your own medicine.
Yeah.
You
I-
need to get this. Like you
I like-
said, limited. They're never going to release them again. Just get it. It's not that. It's 120. It's $120, right? It's it's $100. Can't beat that. Just do
Yeah,
it.
you guys
Cece.
go all after those ones. I want the Yoda one. So
Oh, you want the Yoda one? Okay.
well, because the Yoda one reminds me more of like childhood. It reminds me more of like D&D type books, old
Yeah.
school magazine covers.
Mhm.
In a like I was talking to Cece before she said, "Hey, you gotta come on Sithcast." I'm like, that in a light box, like with something with Yoda, that would look so cool.
It's also
Yeah.
a really good size. I don't know the size of the actual one.
Damn, I want this one too.
I've seen it in person, the
Mhm.
NPR poster, but 18 by 24 is a standard size. It'd be a super cheap frame. It'd be an available light box if you want to do that. Yeah, this I think
Oh
they
man, you
version.
got us at light boxes, man. CC, you
I like
enabled you enabled half of us already. At least half of us.
I like the one with Vader. Like, he's getting ready to go in. Like, they're attacking the Death Star, and he's getting ready to go
This one?
out. Yeah, that's a pretty cool one.
Yeah. That is
I just
love
the
fucking,
TIE
that's fucking cool.
I like the Yoda in the Trench Run one because it fits in with some things that I got in my collection. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the trench run, but I'm sold on this. That's iconic.
Yeah.
I need to get that. Another one would be the at attacks. Because I
The
think that's,
lower one that you just, I think Matt, Rogue One 6 Matt has that. I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's either that or the one with Luke where he's like looking behind his shoulder.
absolutely
yeah.
this one, this the trench run. No, not this one.
No,
This
no,
one, right?
there's one of
one.
Luke, and there's an AT in the background.
Yeah.
Oh yes. I know that one. Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's from a
Did-
comic or something like that. Is that
Mhm.
storyboard
This one-
or something?
Damn, I'm a bounty hunters guy, and this would look nice, but I really, out of everything, I need to get that Vader versus Luke. This, yeah.
Well, see, this is one of those things where you, because like I don't think people are gonna get a lot of them. Like, so you got to like pick one, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like hard to just pick one.
Yeah, because if you're gonna collect all, was it 4 or 5 of these? It's gonna be like a pretty hefty penny right there.
So I will say for the uninitiated, because if you think those limited edition Hot Toys are a bitch to order, art prints are like a whole nother game. So I mentioned like there's the bottleneck obsessed fans. Mondo was like this for years, but art prints are kind of having a weird thing too, where there's a conversation recently about the market being kind of inundated, and some companies that used to be big in the art print world, like Mondo, they're not coming out with stuff that's like complete bangers. There's literally only one artist that they work with that I really love. But they keep doing like comic book covers. They're doing a lot more with their figures, it seems, than they are with the alternative movie posters. So now there's people like Bottleneck, who kind of is like I don't want to say the be all end all, but like they're incredibly popular. They're always putting out great stuff. There's art print companies that are coming out, newer companies that are coming out. Vice Press has been around for 10 years. I'm biased because Matt Ferguson co-owns Vice Press. They're always doing amazing stuff. If you're into 80s shit, you love them because they do a lot of 80s properties. But a lot of people were complaining that like, hey, like Bottleneck's coming out with 2, 3, sometimes 4 really killer art prints a week.
A week, yeah. And they're selling out. They're always selling out.
At least these are classic.
No,
they're not alternative
iconic.
movie posters. They're iconic. I think
it's Ralph McQuarrie.
Yeah.
Can't get any...
Oh, I started going on a tangent and then I forgot about what I was talking about. So as far as like ordering and how quickly they're going to sell out, I don't think you need to be terribly worried about the paper prints because they're available on Acme. They might be available through Acme's like UK sister site, which is Pulse Gallery. Maybe I haven't checked yet if they're on there. So if you're getting a paper print, I don't think you need to be terribly worried. They're also on Sideshow, the paper ones. If you're getting the acrylic ones, you need to set an alarm for tomorrow because the acrylic stuff tends to not sell out as fast, at least from what I've seen, compared to the paper prints. I think that's because of the cost and because it's a newer medium. They've always been doing paper prints. These acrylic prints, they've only started doing last 2, maybe almost 3 years off the top of my head. And like the storage stuff I told you about, it's kind of harder to hoard these unless you absolutely know you're going to display them. So I think Jeff's right. If there's one that you know you want to go for, I would put that in your cart and check out completely. You can get cart jacked. They do a lot to try to prevent like bots and stuff like that because a lot of these releases sell out within minutes. So like you do need to be on the dot at noon. Like you're going to be signed into the website, have your payment information in there, address in there, use Apple Pay, or I use PayPal. I've had success. My friend swears by Apple Pay because they do sell out quite fast. I've done it where when you're getting multiples, I'll pick a favorite. I'll check out completely. I'll go back in. I'll get like the second one. Just contact Bottleneck through the website. They'll combine shipping if they're able to. These are acrylic panels, so they're solid. I don't know how easy it is for them to combine orders, but with art prints, I've bought like, because I'm addicted. If I buy like 4 in a week, they tend to combine orders without me having to say something. But feel free to contact them through the website and see if they can combine shipping to help you out with the cost on that. But that's what I would. if you're keen on any of these. They did have a pre-sale earlier today. I think it was for rewards members,
I am a rewards member.
where they closed the sale, which is
son of a
typical.
God.
I know. I'm sorry. I checked it literally right before I went live.
CC.
I was trying to help Jeff.
Come on,
Watch your
CC.
email. Watch your email, PJ. Jeez.
Yeah, but CC, you're supposed to put it on the. Wait, that's where I get my info from.
I know. I'm sorry.
I don't check the emails. I check CC. I check Rogue 16. Oh man.
Well, and also I think I also underestimated how popular these would be, because like I saw it and was like, oh, it's the same paper prints as before and just acrylic panels. And then I had as soon as I got off work, I had a bunch of questions about it. I'm like, oh God, people want these, like really want these more than I thought, because I kind of thought it was old news because they're redoing the paper ones. But they did do a pre-sale. If you did get that email and you were to contact Bottleneck and kindly grovel, I don't know if they'd be able to do something with that. But you could always ask.
Okay.
Hey, I got the sale. I didn't click it in time. The sale ended. What do you recommend I do? I'd also set an alarm though at noon, just in case. But that being said, because they had the pre-sale, that means the head 75, they don't have 75. They have less than 75 because they sold some today. They don't,
which is what usually happens at Bottleneck.
Yeah. So the reason why they do that pre-sale is because, and they put out emails about this. I'm not like saying this because I talked to them or whatever. So they do the pre-sale because it's password protected. It's pretty bot proof, if not completely bot proof. So they do that to try to like help with the reputation that they have, as far as like the shit sells out too fast. It's impossible to be a collector of it. So they try to throw people a bone by either doing pre-sales for rewards members, or the other thing they do, which I really appreciate, is if you drink the Kool-Aid with some of these artists and you buy a lot of their stuff, Matt Ferguson, Kevin Wilson, like, or if they're doing lines, they'll give people who bought, like, say, the first print in the series a pre-sale, because it's like, hey, if you bought the episode 1 Chris Valentine print, you might want the episode 2. So, like, here's your option to buy it the day before everyone else does. So you're not fighting with the general public the next day. As far as the allocation on the pre-sales, sometimes I want to say, just asking them after the fact, it's been like 50-50, where they might have sold half of them in the pre-sale, or some of them, depending on what it is and how popular it was, they might be like, we have like a fourth available for the public sale. You never know, but I would never discourage. And I get so, if you're in the Facebook groups and you wonder like how I feel about this, anytime there's a pre-sale and I post about the art print, hey, there's a pre-sale going on right now. For everyone else, tomorrow, noon Eastern Standard Time, here's the website, here's the info. If anyone comments on that post and says it's already sold out, I get hashtag triggered like the millennial that I am, because it doesn't necessarily mean that it's sold out. It means that they either closed the sale or the allocation for the pre-sale sold out. I've never heard of them completely selling out a print during a pre-sale.
Yeah.
They might not have a lot for the public sale, but it doesn't mean they're completely gone. So I'd never discourage anyone from still trying and setting an alarm for noon.
All I gotta say is that hopefully they didn't buy this print. And yeah. Okay, so Jeff, you're getting the Yoda. Cece's getting the this one, TIE Defense.
We'll see.
And no, there's no seeing.
I think this is a horrible sale. I don't think anybody should buy this. It's crap.
No. This is a horrible sale.
It's a re-release.
Yeah, guys, it's a re-release. You don't need it. You don't need it. Okay.
We need to stick it to these companies.
Have moral.
Whatever CC said, disregard it. Okay.
They're not even going up at noon. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah, it's not going up at noon. If you want, try 12:30. Okay, guys.
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll still be there.
Yeah.
They do it in waves.
And me and Anthony are gonna get this. right, Anthony?
Yeah, we'll order it so that y'all don't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
You can look at it in my collection.
Yeah, but and yeah, RMD says I'm an Acme site for the paper art print. There's no difference between Bottleneck Gallery Release and Acme.
Nope.
No, really,
Not
no
for the
difference
paper.
there, RMD.
Nope. Not
So,
in the paper.
All right, CC. Well, you enabled pretty much everyone on this chat and on the panel. Thank you. Again and again and again. It's like, but seriously, guys, no, thank you to CC. She is the art print master. Please, any questions, please reach out to her on Rogue 16 YouTube channel and on the Facebook group. Please join them and be enabled all the time with art prints, like now, like you guys just experienced now. So, all right, so that wraps it up, guys. This was a great show. Thank you to CC and Jeff for hopping on the show. Sean, I saw him in the chat there. I think he just got home, so we definitely missed you on this episode. But Anthony, you're supposed to say another another one in the books, Anthony.
another one in the books.
No,
Sorry.
that's our
I was like,
comment.
Anthony, what?
Anthony's new.
Okay.
No, but another one in the books. Thank you guys again. We have one more episode to hit our milestone, our 200th episode. So stay tuned for that. We're gonna have some really awesome guests, maybe some giveaways. We shall see.
Free membership to the OnlyFans.
Okay, free membership to Anthony's OnlyFans page.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thank you guys
Subscribe.
for to subscribe to Anthony's OnlyFans page. But thank you guys again for tuning in and watching this show. Thank you to our guests for hopping on. And may the midichlorians be with you guys always and forever. We'll be back next week. Take care, everyone. Bye now.